Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isaac Christopher Lubogo, and today we're going to talk about training our mind. Listen, train the mind as a sculptor shapes marble, chiseling away at ignorance to reveal the masterpiece of wisdom within. That's a quotation by Isaac Christopher Lubogo. And today we're going to talk about the art of remembering everything, and often referred to as what they call total recall, or what they call eidetic memory. Eidetic memory. So it's important to know that through eidetic memory, where a person can actually recall detailed images with extreme precision, is extremely rare and not fully understood. So for most people, improving memory involves various techniques and strategies. And I'm going to give you some of those. Strategy number one is what they call visualization. You have to learn to create mental images that can make information more memorable, right? Try to picture what you want to remember. That's one way of trying to remember things, how you can help yourself remember. Number two is what they call association. Link new information to something you already know. This can actually create what they call a web of associations that make it easy for you to recall. Number three is what they call repetition. Repeated exposure to information can actually help reinforce memory, and that becomes the basis of your flashcards in terms of what they call rote learning. Yeah? And then there's what they call chunking, breaking down information into smaller, manageable chunks that is easy for you to remember. You know, for example, a phone number has 3 chunks rather than a long string of digits, right? That gives you a way of remembering. Then there's what they call mnemonic devices. So these memory aids like acronyms or rims can actually help you to remember lists or even sequences. Yeah? And then another helpful one is what they call spaced repetition. Reviewing materials, for example, at increasing intervals can actually help to solidify memory over time. And guess what? Sleep also. Getting enough sleep quality is crucial for your memory consolidation. And then another is what they call stress management. High stress levels can actually impair memory. Reducing stress through relaxation techniques that can also be extremely helpful. Another important aspect is what they call living what they call a healthy lifestyle. In terms of what they call regular exercises and a balanced diet can actually positively impact your memory. Another important one is what they call mindfulness and focus. So being present and fully engaged, for example, when learning or experiencing something can actually improve your memory retention. Listen, my friend, nobody can remember absolutely everything, but it is normal, absolutely, to forget some things, right? So the key to develop in terms of a set of strategies that can work for you and help you remember what is most important. So what happens is that the brain stores and remembers information through a complex process involving different areas and mechanisms. And I'm going to give you some explanation with specific examples. Listen, there's what we call sensory memory. When you perceive something, your senses create a temporary sensory memory. For instance, when you briefly see a colorful painting, your virtual memory retains the image for a fraction of a second. Okay? Then there's what we call short-term memory. Under this, information that your brain deems important gets transferred to short-term memory. So imagine reading a phone number in a phone book, for example. You can hold this information temporarily in your short-term memory while you dial the number. That becomes a little bit obvious, right? Then there's what we call working memory. Working memory is like a mental scratch pad, for example, where you manipulate and process information. So it is essential for tasks like mental arithmetic, for example, when you're calculating, you know, for example, a tip, for example, at a restaurant, or when you're working out memory to add up some numbers. That becomes useful in that context. Then there's what we call short-term memory, when you need to remember something for a more extended period. For example, it's moved to a long-term memory. Yeah, this is where most of your knowledge and experiences reside. For instance, you actually remember your childhood home or the memories associated with it. Yeah. Another important one is what they call encoding. Yeah. This helps you to remember something in long term. So it needs to be encoded effectively. This can happen through various methods such as visualizing, associating, or even repeating information. So if you're learning a new language, for example, you might associate a new code or a new word with an image or a similar sound word from your native language to encode it in your long-term memory. Yeah? There's also what we call consolidation. The brain strengthens memory traced through a process called consolidation. So this involves the transfer of information from what they call the hippocampus to the other brain regions. For example, if you have learned to play a musical instrument, the initial practice sessions are consolidated into long-term memory, allowing you to recall the notes and the chords. Then there's what we call retrieval. So when, for example, you want to remember something, your brain retrieves the information from long-term memory. For example, recalling a childhood, birthday party, involves retrieving memories of that event from your long-term memory. Yeah. Then there's what you call emotional memory. Strong emotions can actually enhance memory. So, for example, if you experienced maybe a traumatic event, the emotional impact can make it more likely to be stored in long-term memory. For instance, a near-miss accident might actually be, etched in your memory due to the intense fear and emotion associated with it, right? And then there's what we call contextual memory. Your brain often associates memories with the context in which they actually occurred, yeah? So if you learned a new recipe in your grandmother's kitchen, for example, that setting may help trigger the memory of that recipe in future. So remember that. So overall, the brain's ability, my friend, to remember things relies on a complex of what they call interplay of sensory inputs in terms of attention, in terms of encoding, in terms of consolidation, in terms of retrieval processes. So different types of memories, for example, what they call episodic or even semantic or even procedural, are supported by distinct brain regions and memories, okay, that can be strengthened through repetition, through emotional significance, and connections to existing knowledge. So I'm going to break down certain things that have to do with what they call sensory input. Yeah. Now, sensory input, it begins with what they call a sensory input in terms of your 5 senses. That is sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. Constantly taking information from the environment. For example, when you walk into, say, a bakery, your senses of smell picks up the aroma of a fresh baked bread, right? And then number 2 is attention. So not all sensory information, for example, is equally important. Your brain decides what to pay attention to based on the various factors such as novelty or even relevancy. So if, for example, in a bakery, you might focus on a particular pastry that catches your eye, yeah? And then when you argue in terms of encoding, the information you pay attention to is actually encoded or converted into a form that your brain can actually work with. So this encoding can take various forms such as visual or even auditory or even semantic, yeah? For example, if you see a chocolate, in the bakery, your brain encodes the visual details of its shape, color, and even texture, yeah? And then if you're arguing in terms of what they call short-term memory, the encoded information is actually initially stored in your short-term memory, a temporary workspace for your mind. Short-term memory has, limited capacity and can hold information for a brief time. At this stage, you can actually briefly remember the details of the chocolate, for example, and even its price, yeah? And then there's what we call working memory. Now, working memory is closely related to short-term memory, yeah? It's where your brain actively processes and manipulates information. So you may calculate, for example, the total cost of, buying 2, chocolates, or even in terms of, that is actually calculated in terms of your working memory, yeah? And then in terms of attention and relevancy, if your brain deems the information important and relevant, it proceeds to the next stage, perhaps, understanding what favorite you want in terms of making it more relevant, yeah? And then there's what we call transfer of long-term memory. For a long-term storage, information must be transferred to the long-term memory. So this, what they call the hippocampus, plays a crucial role in this process. It's like moving a file from your computer, in terms of your desktop, short-term memory, to a folder in terms of a long-term, yeah? So that is something that you must understand. The brain decides, in terms of the significance and desirability in terms of how it treats the worth of remembering. Yeah, in terms of consolidation, once in long-term memory, the memory traces are actually consolidated and even strengthened. So this consolidation process involves the gradual, solidification of the memory, making it less susceptible in terms of decay. Yeah. So the more you love maybe chocolate, the stronger this memory, becomes important, or even what dictated upon your mind. Yeah. And then categorization. Memories can actually be categorized into different types. For instance, what they call, if you're arguing it down to what they call episodic memory, a personal experience, and associated with maybe a certain category in terms of a favorite trait. Yeah, so you must comprehend that. And then in terms of retrieval, as I said, when you want to recall the memory of maybe this delicious chocolate, then your brain retrieves it from the long-term memory, and the retrieval process often relies on association, like thinking about your favorite bakery, for example. Yeah. And then if you're arguing in terms of what they call emotional significance, these memories are associated with strong emotions, such as the joy of maybe indulging in, in a certain action, or perhaps a vivid memory in terms of endurance. And so this emotional significance can actually, enhance your memory retention. Yeah. So this, and then we can also talk about the connections to existing knowledge. Memories are also interconnected. Okay, so the ability to relate to a particular, favorite thing of yours can actually have that linkage in terms of a memory. So it helps you in terms of your general knowledge, in terms of enhancing your richness in terms of retainability, yeah, and retrievability, yeah. So memory function basically is dynamic and intricate. It involves, as I said, sensory input, it involves attention, it involves encoding, it involves consolidation and retrieval. So there are different types of memory, as I told you, what they call the episodic, what they call the semantic, and then the procedural. These are associated with distinct brain regions, okay, and they are enhanced by repetition, emotional significance, to connections to existing knowledge. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper so we can understand the episodic, semantic, and procedural memory. If you're arguing in terms of what they call episodic memory, what is it? Now, episodic memory is a type of memory that stores personal experiences and events and even episodes in your life. So it allows you to remember specific moments or even places and emotions that are associated with these past events. I'll give an example. Episodic memories are actually typically anti-biological, and they include details about when and where an event occurred, yeah? And they often have a chronological structure, so you can mentally, replay these memories, recalling the sights, the sounds, and even the feelings of a particular moment. An example is when you're remembering, for example, your high school graduation day, yeah? Or your last family vacation, for example, or a taste of your first, maybe ice cream, for example. All these examples are related to what they call episodic memories, like the word dictate, episodes, right? And then there's what they call semantic memory. What is it? Semantic memory is the repository of general knowledge and facts. So it stores information that is not tied to specific personal experiences, but represents shared knowledge about the world. Okay, so unlike episodic memory, semantic memory is not bound by time or place. It is more abstract and factual form in terms of memory. So semantic memories are often organized in a network like structure with related concepts and interconnections. Yeah, I'll give an example. For example, knowing that Kampala is the capital city of Uganda, or understanding that what a cat is, or perhaps grasping the concept of multiplication or instances of those that are argued in terms of semantic memory. So the knowledge is not tied to any particular event in your life, but is part of your general understanding of the world. Yeah, and then there's what we call procedural memory. Now, procedural memory is responsible for storing the knowledge of how to perform various skills and tasks. Yeah, it enables you to remember and execute actions, routines, and procedures without conscious awareness. Yeah, I'll give an example. Procedural memory is often implicit, in the sense that meaning that you may not be able to articulate the steps of a procedure, but you can perform it effectively through practice and repetition. So it's usually associated with muscle memory, for example, and skills of like riding a bike, or typing on a keyboard, or playing a musical instrument. So for example, driving a car, tying your shoelaces, for example, or playing a musical instrument are all examples of what they call procedural memory. So these skills become automatic over time, and you can perform them without even actively thinking about the steps that involve, right? Okay, so in general, we have to comprehend that episodemic memory is about personal experiences and events. Semantic memory is for general knowledge and facts, and procedural memory is for responsible in terms of storing the how-to knowledge for performing various skills and tasks. So these different types of memory serve distinct purposes and are associated with different brain regions and processes. So the human brain is, incredibly complex and dynamic in terms of how its functioning occurs and involves numerous intricate processes. I'm going to give you how this so-called brain works. Now, in the brain, we have to comprehend what they call neurons. The brain is composed of billions of neurons, which are the basic building blocks of the nervous system. So neurons communicate with each other through what they call electrochemical signals. Yeah? Now, electrochemical signaling, what do we mean by that? Neurons transmit information through what they call electrical impulses. So when a neuron receives a signal, it generates an electrical potential, what they call action potential, that travels down its axon. Yeah, at the end of the axon, the signal is actually transmitted to the next neuron through chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. Yeah, then there's what they call synapses. Neurons are connected at junctions called synapses. So neurotransmitters are released from one neuron into the synapse, where they bind to the receptors of the neighboring neuron, transmitting the signal from one neuron to the next one. Please remember that. And then there's what they call neural network. Neurons form complex networks, allowing for the processing of information. These networks are responsible for various cognitive functions and behavior. Yeah? And then there's what they call brain regions. Now, there are different parts of the brain that serve specific functions. For example, the frontal lobe. Yeah, the frontal lobe is associated with decision making and personality. The temporal lobe with memory, and then the auditory processing, and the occipital lobe with what they call visual processing. Yeah, so if you're arguing in terms of what they call sensory input, information from the environment is collected by the sensory organs, for example, the eyes, the ears, and the skins, and transmitted into the brain. So the brain processes and interprets this sensory input. Yeah. Now, this is what we call motor output. After processing this so-called sensory input and making decisions, the brain sends signals to the muscles and glands to produce motor output, allowing us to move, to speak, and to respond to the environment. And then there's what we call memory. Yeah. The brain stores and retrieves information through various types of memory, such as short-term, long-term, and working memory. I explained that. So these memories are formed and assessed through what they call neural connections. Remember that. Yeah. Another important aspect to comprehend is what they call emotions and limbic system. So the limbic system, including structures like what they call the amygdala and the hippocampus, plays a role in emotions and the formation of what they call emotional memories. Yeah. And then if you're looking at what they call consciousness, the exact nature of consciousness is still a subject of ongoing research and debate. So it is believed to emerge from the collective activity of many neurons working together and allowing us to be aware of our thoughts, emotions, and even surroundings. Yeah? And then we have to comprehend what they call plasticity. Yeah? The brain exhibits what they call neuroplasticity, meaning it can adapt and change over time. It can recognize the structure and function in response to learning or even injury and environmental factors. Yeah? And then this is what we call neurotransmitters. I talked about those, but let me just emphasize the balance of various neurotransmitters in the brain. For example, what they call the dopamine, and what they call the serotonin, and what they call the acetylcholine. They are crucial in terms of regulating cognition and behavior imbalances, okay, and they can lead to various neurological and even psychiatric conditions. Yeah. And then what we call hormones. Yeah, hormones. The brain interacts with what they call endocrine system, which involves the release of what they call hormones that affect various bodily functions, including growth, metabolism, and even stress responses. So, my friend, that is a simplified overview of how this guy called the brain works. So So in reality, the brain is an immense, intricate organ with numerous interconnected processes and structures that collectively allow us to think, learn, remember, and even perform a wide range of functions. In terms of research, there's a lot of research that is going on. There are mysteries that are yet to be uncovered as far as the brain complexity is concerned. So all humans basically have the same basic brain structure in terms of the major regions, in terms of the general organization. However, individual differences in terms of intelligence and abilities are influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, and developmental factors. I'm going to give examples how this can be argued in terms of geniuses and those that are not geniuses. Yeah? Now, listen, genetics is a big factor. While everyone has a similar brain in terms of structure, genetics play a significant role in terms of determining one's cognitive ability. Genetical factors can influence aspects of brain development, such as the number and distribution of the neurons, as well as the efficiency of neural connections. So some individuals may actually inherit what they call genetic traits that contribute to higher intelligence or what they call exceptional skills. Remember that. And then environmental factors. Environmental factors, especially during the early development, play a crucial role in brain development. So, for example, access to quality education or a stimulating home environment and nutrition can have a substantial impact on what they call cognitive abilities. So lack of access to these resources can hinder intellectual development. Remember that. Then there's what they call neuroplasticity. Yeah, the brain is highly adaptable and capable of changing throughout life. So experiences in terms of learning and practice can actually shape the brain structure and function. So individuals who engage in activities that challenge their cognitive abilities, such as reading or problem solving or even learning new skills, are likely to enhance their cognitive capabilities over time. Yeah. And that's what we call motivation and interest. Yeah, in terms of interest and motivation plays a significant role in terms of learning and skill development. So people are passionate about particular subjects or skills are more likely to invest time, for example, and effort leading to expertise in that area. So this specialization can create or can help them become geniuses in their own chosen fields, right? And then there's what we call diverse intelligences, right? So intelligence basically is multifaceted. It can manifest in various ways. Some individuals may excel in traditional academic intelligence, while others may possess exceptional artistic or even athletic or even social intelligence. Remember that. So it is important to recognize and appreciate different forms of intelligence beyond what standardized tests may actually measure. And that's where we go wrong in many academic forums. Yeah? Now, there's what we call developmental timing as well. Now, development is a uniform across all individuals. Some people may actually experience cognitive growth in terms of spurs that at different stages of life. For example, late bloomers, for example, may not display their full potential until later in their development. Yeah? And then we could also argue in terms of what they call cultural and societal factors. Cultural expectations and societal norms can influence how intelligence is perceived. What is considered a genius in one culture or time period may actually differ from another. So cultural factors can actually impact on how intelligence is expressed and even recognized. This is extremely important. I was having a debate with one of my guys. He told me how some leader is a genius because of the way he has managed, these the stubborn generals of his. So while we can agree that all humans have a basic brain, as I said, its performance will be greatly influenced by some of those components that I've just been talking about. So it is important to acknowledge that the nature and the potential of every individual should be appreciated in terms of the diversity of the human abilities and the talents that people possess. So if you're arguing in terms of who is genius, geniuses are often exceptional in terms of their particular fields or areas of expertise, yeah? But their exceptional abilities are not limited to a single trait or skill. Remember that. So what makes them special can actually vary widely, but some common characteristics of geniuses may include some of the following. Yeah, for example, what they call exceptional knowledge. Geniuses often possess, for example, a deep and extensive knowledge of their chosen field. So they have dedicated maybe countless hours in terms of learning and even mastering their subject, which allows them to make groundbreaking contributions. Yeah, and then in terms of creativity, some geniuses exhibit what they call extraordinary creativity. They can think outside the box and throw the box away. So they can connect seemingly unrelated concepts and come up with innovative solutions and complex problems. Yeah. So Some of you sit on your souls and say, I'm not a genius, I'm going to leave that to so and so. That's wrong. That's wrong. Discover your niche. That's all you need to do. And then persistence. Geniuses tend to be highly motivated and persistent. Yeah, they are willing to work tirelessly and even overcome challenges to achieve their goals. Their dedication and perseverance are often key factors in terms of their success. Yeah, and then there's what we call critical thinking. Geniuses excel in what they call critical thinking and analysis. They can evaluate information, identify the flaws in terms of arguments, and even make sound decisions based on evidence and logic. Yeah, so those are all important factors. And then expertise in their fields. Yeah, geniuses typically focus on their efforts on specific domains. Yeah, becoming experts in that area. So their in-depth knowledge and understanding sets them apart from others. Yeah, I'll tell you a quotation about a genius later at the end, but let me just continue in terms of passion and interest as well. They are genuinely passionate about their work. Yeah, in terms of their deep interest, in terms of the enthusiasm for their chosen field, to drive them to explore, to experiment, to push the boundaries of what is known. Yeah, and then there's an aspect in terms of what they call innovative thinking as well. Geniuses often, challenge what they call existing paradigms in terms of conventional wisdom. So they are not afraid to question the status quo and even propose new ideas. Okay, I think you're listening and you're hearing what we're talking about. And then sometimes there's what they call interdisciplinary skills. Yeah, some geniuses have the ability to draw from multiple disciplines and even integrate knowledge from various sources to solve complex problems in terms of interdisciplinary approach that can lead to what they call breakthroughs. Yeah, and then so listen, it's important to note that not all geniuses may excel in every one of these characteristics, as I said. So there is no one size fit all definition of a genius. So additionally, geniuses is often a specific domain. Yeah, meaning someone can actually be a genius in one particular area while having average abilities in other domains. Yeah, so it's a question of finding your niche, as I said. Discover your potential, discover your gifting perhaps, where it naturally dawns on you. Okay, so as to whether an ordinary person, for example, can train their brain to become a genius, it's essential to understand that while not everyone can actually achieve a so-called genius level status, many of the qualities mentioned as discussed above can actually be developed and honed through deliberate practice and even dedication. For example, through continuous learning, through curiosity, through hard work, and the growth of what they call the mindset that can help individuals to improve their knowledge and abilities in terms of the various fields. So ultimately, becoming a genius in a particular area often requires an exceptional level in terms of dedication and passion in terms of that field. So it's important, however, note that personal growth and intellectual development are achievable goals for anyone who is committed to learning and improving themselves. So please remember that while all human brains share a fundamental structure similarity, it's important, my friends, to understand that individual differences in the brain structure and function do exist. Now, these individual differences contribute, as I say, to variations in terms of cognitive abilities, in terms of talents, in terms of inclinations, and I'm going to give you some key pointers on what to consider. Yeah? Listen, the first one is what we call baseline similarity. All human brains have a basic similarity in terms of the major brain regions and neural structures. So the brain's fundamental organization is relatively consistent among individuals. Yeah? Number two, there's what they call variability. So within the shared structure, there is a considerable degree of variability. Factors like genetics or early life experiences, what they call environmental influences, and personal choices can lead to differences in how individual brains develop and function. Yeah, so I think you begin to know that many of the things are things that we can make up for, right? And then diversity in terms of talent. While some cognitive abilities are actually widespread among humans, for example, the ability to learn a language, there is a wide range of talents and skills. These differences can actually be influenced by both genetics and individual interests. Yeah? And then there's what they call nurture and the nature. Remember that debate? We had it when we were making our book on strict methodology. Nature versus nurture. The nature versus nurture debate emphasizes the interaction between genetic, what they call predispositions, and environmental factors in shaping an individual in terms of cognitive abilities and potential. Yeah? So both factors play a role in determining an individual's uniqueness. Yeah? And then plasticity, in terms of the brain's neuroplasticity, it means that it can adapt and change over time in response to experiences, learning, and even training. So this allows for personal growth and even development. Please understand that what I wanted to say is that being a genius is basically 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, meaning you have to work towards it. So please understand that regardless of what people may be saying about you or whatever your condition may be, it's important. We're going to harness some of these things and see how we can, boost our brains in terms of what we need to do. So listen, training your brain, to excel involves a combination of strategies and practice that can help you to enhance your cognitive abilities and boost productivity and improve your overall mental well-being. I'm going to give you some ways in which you can actually train your brain. Number one, lifelong learning. Continuously challenge your mind by learning new things. Read books, take courses, explore topics outside your comfort zones. Lifelong learning stimulates your brain activity and fosters creativity. Number two, mental exercise. Engage in activities that require mental effort, such as puzzles, chess, Sudoku, or even brain training apps. These exercises can improve memory, problem solving, and even encourage critical thinking skills. Number three, physical activity. Regular physical exercise has a positive impact on your brain health. It can improve memory, cognitive function, and even mood. Aim for both cardiovascular exercise and strength training. Number four, health diet. A nutritious diet enriches what they call antioxidants, what they call omega-3 fatty acids and other brain boosting nutrients that can support cognitive function. Foods like leafy greens, berries, fatty fish are actually beneficial. Number five, adequate sleep. Quality sleep is crucial for memory consolidation, not oversleeping by the way, but for the overall brain function. 7 to 9 hours, is fair enough in terms of helping you to do what they call cognitive performance. And then stress management. High stress levels can impair cognitive function. Practice stress reduction techniques such as meditation, mindfulness, or even deep breathing and exercise that can keep stress, in check. And then social engagement. Social interactions and even meaningful relationships can actually stimulate cognitive function and emotional well-being. Engage in conversations, build and maintain relationships, and stay socially active. Number 8, set goals. Establish what they call clear, achievable goals for personal and even professional growth. This will help you provide what they call motivation and a sense of purpose, which can actually improve in terms of your focus and in terms of your determination. Number 9, time management. Effective time management helps you to optimize your productivity. Use tools like to-do lists and calendars to stay organized and manage your tasks efficiently. Number 10, brain training apps. They are there. There are various apps and games designed to improve cognitive skills and memory and problem solving. Some popular ones include things like what they call Lumosity or Elevate or even Peak. Find some of those, they will help you. And then number 11, mindfulness in time and meditation. Mindfulness practices can enhance focus, reduce stress, and even improve what they call emotional regulation. Regular meditation can also promote what they call mental clarity and even relaxation. And then number 12 is what we call creative exercises. Engage in creative exercises such as painting, writing, playing a musical instrument. These activities will stimulate different parts of the brain and foster activity. Last time I was playing the guitar and playing that song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Remember that song that we played while I was in Germany and went viral? Those are things that we're talking about. And then positive mindset. Stay positive. Cultivate a growth mindset which emphasizes the belief that abilities can actually be developed through dedication and hard work. A positive attitude can enhance motivation and resilience. We go through depression every day, but we fight to be positive. And then number 14, seek feedback. Open, constructive, feedback in terms of criticism can help you identify areas in terms of improvement. You can refine your skills. We do that. We go through that every day. Positive, constructive criticism. What I'm talking about. Not people who just pull you down. And then balance, what they call balance and well-being. Achieve a balanced and rounded lifestyle that is essential. Ensure that you take care of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being to perform all at your best. So Remember that training your brain, as I said, is an ongoing process and progress that can take time. Yeah. So consistently, in terms of your dedication, in terms of practice, will help you reach your goals and excel in the various aspects of what? Of your life. And the argument here is how to help you enhance and take hold of your brain. Some of you need to understand that the concept when the brain is at its best can actually vary depending on the specific cognitive function and abilities in question. So it is important to know that the brain performance can change, as I said, over time due to various factors, including development, aging, and even individual variability. But I'm going to give you some ranges supported by empirical evidence in terms of the aspect of what they call cognitive performance. Yeah? Listen, the brain is at its best during the time what they call early childhood. Between the year of 0 to 5 years, empirical evidence suggests that the brain undergoes rapid development during early childhood. Yeah? So this period is crucial for the formation of neural connections, language acquisition, and even the development of basic cognitive skills. So those of you who have children or friends within that age, man, maximize on that. Maximize on that. Then there's that time of the second time what they call the adolescence, what they call late teens to early 20s. Yeah? Research shows that the brain continues to develop during this adolescence time, particularly in areas related to what they call high order thinking or impulse control and even decision making. So this period is enhanced learning and adaptability. Yeah? And then the third level is what they call the young adulthood, between the 20s to early 30s. Yeah? Many cognitive functions, including memory, processing, and speed and problem solving, tend to to peak in these late teens up to early 30s. So this is often considered a period of what they call optimal cognitive performance. Yeah? And then the fourth one is what they call the mid-adulthood, between 40s and 50s. Yeah? Empirical evidence suggests that crystallized intelligence, which allows what they call accumulated knowledge and verbal abilities, remains relatively stable or even improves in mid-adulthood. Yeah? And then if you're talking about older adulthood, between 60 and beyond, while some cognitive functions may actually decline with age, some remain stable or even improve. Yeah? For example, verbal knowledge or vocabulary and wisdom tend to actually be well maintained, and some individuals continue to engage in lifelong learning. Yeah? So listen, it's essential, my friends. Yeah? It's essential to recognize that cognitive development and aging are highly variable among individuals. So factors, as I said, like genetics, lifestyle, and environmental influences can significantly impact on cognitive performance at different ages. So additionally, what may be considered best in terms of performance may actually vary on terms of the individual goals and life circumstances. Yeah? That's why you may see people coming up with super invasions even as late as 60 and above. Yeah? The guy of KFC, for example, Colonel Sanders, and then others as early as what? As early as the Michael Jackson getting their niche. Yeah? So you have to understand that. So research, as I said, in terms of cognitive aging has also shown that the brain can actually continue to adapt and even learn through life, and even cognitive decline can actually be inevitable. So staying mentally active, engaging in learning, maintaining healthy lifestyle can help you have cognitive function at an early age. Okay? So please understand that the concept of when the brain is at its best depends, as I said, on specific cognitive abilities, and as I said, can vary by age. But strong to note is that empirical evidence would suggest different cognitive functions that may peak or decline at different stages in life. But individual variations and potential of long-term learning and adaptation should actually be considered. Yeah? So I'm going to give you some types of what they call prominent types of intelligence. Yeah? And the different types of intelligence perhaps. But let's begin with what they call general intelligence. Some people call it G or G for that purpose. So general intelligence, often referred to as G, is a broad overarching measure of what they call cognitive abilities. Yeah? So it represents a person's overall intellectual capacity and is thought to actually underlie various specific cognitive skills. Yeah? And then there's what we call verbal linguistic intelligence. Yeah? And this type of intelligence involves what they call a strong aptitude for language, including reading, writing, speaking, and understanding nuances in terms of what they call communication. So people with high verbal linguistic intelligence excel in areas such as writing, storytelling, and even public speaking. Yeah? And then we could also talk about what they call logical or mathematical intelligence. Individuals with strong logical mathematical intelligence excel in analytical and even problem solving tasks. Yeah? And they are skilled in what they call critical thinking, reasoning, and even mathematical operations. So this type of intelligence is often associated with what called scientific and mathematical endeavors. Yeah. And then there's what we call visual spatial intelligence. In terms of visual spatial intelligence, basically relates to the ability to perceive and even manipulate what they call visual information in one's mind. So people with high visual spatial intelligence are skilled in tasks, for example, like map reading, drawing, and even visualizing concepts. Yeah. And then there's what they call bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So this type of intelligence involves what they call physical coordination and control. So people with strong bodily kinesthetic intelligence are actually often skilled in activities like sports,